Sandy, welcome to the Call Shaper Consult. It's great to have you. As we've been talking with a lot of our partners over the past couple of weeks, Outbound IQ came up a number of times because, as you know, we're working hard with you guys to build an integration and get that out to market as soon as we can. But I wanted to introduce a lot of the Call Shaper world out to Outbound IQ and Outbound ANI. Talking about efficiencies and everything, there aren't too many systems out there that are creating efficiencies for call centers like what you guys are doing. So I guess, first, thanks for joining me and taking some time out of your busy schedule for this. But if you could tell us a little bit about, what Outbound ANI and Outbound IQ, what do you guys do and how does it work?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Alec. Before I do, I just wanted to say, we are so excited about the partnership with Call Shaper. We love your culture. We love your flexibility. We love your customer support, your high touch model. I'm really excited to be a part of this and share this solution to help your outbound clients. So, just as an overview, real quick, high level, our company is Outbound IQ. We've been in business for just over 3 years now. Outbound IQ is really representative of the full suite of services that we provide to help our customers with outbound strategy, efficiency, ensuring their contact center platform is set up to meet their goals. And the core technology solution on which this company was built is Outbound ANI. So in a nutshell, Outbound ANI integrates directly into the contact center platform level. This is the integration that we are deploying for Call Shaper clients today. So inside the dialer platform, we effectively become the brain that automates intelligent management of the entire phone number inventory that customer utilizes for ANIs. We use real-time outcome data and intelligence, and we use that to instruct the dialer of which ANI needs to be shown for every single outgoing call. It is our job to determine at this moment in time which ANI should be shown to this client. And as we go on, we can go a little bit more into the factors that go into that decision. But at the end of the day, the core KPIs that our customers are monitoring and what we help them to improve is their live connect rates. That's our reason for being.
Right on. So, obviously people have a hard time in contact centers today, especially when they're doing a lot of high volume outbound calling. They have a hard time managing those DIDs. So, having a unique solution that does it for them, manages them, not just managing, but actually accurately managing how the numbers are used, helps a lot. I know from a lot of our clients' experiences, right? One of the issues they're seeing is being able to connect with customers, potential customers. And so what are some of the things that you guys are seeing from call centers you're working with connectivity issues, and how does the Outbound ANI platform help to solve some of those problems?
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked, because what we see is in the majority of the initial conversations that we have when companies come to us for help, the problem of spam and negative labels impacting phone numbers on a mass scale, quite often that's the only thing that a customer is focused on. And they may think that the spam boogeyman is the source of all of their problems. And yes, I will not diminish it. It is certainly affecting every outbound caller that is using any type of technology, whether it's as low level aggression as a preview call, all the way up the chain to your full blown predictive. It doesn't matter. Every company is affected by spam labels, whether you make a couple hundred calls a day or 1,000, or 10,000. But it's not the only thing that's going on, and it never was. Even before the advent of spam labels and carrier call tagging, you had much simpler things. I mean, think about just a customer's preference on what type of number they're going to trust and pick up your call. There's some consumers that they still respond to local presence. Like, let's say they are active in their local community, they got a lot going on. They've opted in and asked to hear from a local pro that's somewhere where they live, for example. Those are some examples where a local touch number is likely to resonate. But you have other people who have been, unfortunately, potentially targeted by some of the not so consumer focused players out there. I'll put it that way. And maybe they've been burned out. They've ended up on a list, and now they've lost their trust in local presence, right? There's a lot of people like that. But then you try them from a toll-free line, or you try them from a line that you're branding, and you get them to answer, and you can proceed, and your agents have the chance to have that conversation. So you've got things as simple as customer preferences, and then you have other technology-based challenges that have nothing to do with the carrier networks. So, each of us we are walking around with incredibly, robust computers in all of our hands, right? We can go into our settings. We can tell our phones to do things. We can tell it to silence certain types of calls, or send certain calls to voicemail. Or we can go into our app store and we can download one of 30 something. There's literally like 3 dozen of these private apps that have been put out there by private developers that maintain their own list of phone numbers that they label. Again, separate from the carrier issue, just private entities with there's a crowdsourced element to adding numbers as telemarketer. No matter which one of those things occurs at the time of your call, it doesn't necessarily mean that a phone number is bad, but it could be due to any one of those potential roadblocks that a phone number is never going to reach John Smith in your calling list. Mm-hmm. The number could be perfectly fine and optimal to call Alec Thompson. We could call Alec from that number and he answers right away and we're engaged and we're off to the races. But when I call Joe or John or Sandy, if any of those obstacles get in my way, I'm not going to make contact. And that's one of the key differentiators about outbound A&I and the data that we look at when we're making decisions. Again, process and respond to the actual outcomes that are happening in our customer's contact center. So through our integration with CallShaper, we are receiving every disposition in real time. I know if this DID used to call Alec Thompson resulted in a contact or not, and if it did not, I will adapt and do the next best action the next time Alec is called. Now, in so doing, not only am I maximizing my contact with Alec and everyone else in my database, I'm also protecting my numbers from inside of the dialer. I'm no longer making any broad brush strokes. I'm no longer telling the dialer, anytime you call someone in Tampa 813, show this number. Or after every dial, rotate this number. Or this number, somebody told me it was spam tagged. I got to pull it out of my dialer. I can't use it anymore. All of those concepts of doing things in mass that are not based on data or outcomes, you're trying to use the features that are available in the system that you're using, they all go away. And instead, we transform our customers' dialing where in an automated way that they don't even have to administer, every dial will be instructed as an individual event based on those outcomes. And we found that that is the most important driver of change for our customers.
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. And what efficiency you're creating for customers too, right? Because one, they don't have to have Suzy Q that manages the dialer. All right, switch out numbers again today. All right, we need to go back to CallShaper or Five9 or Convoso and switch out 4,000 numbers this week. That goes away. You're not switching or changing your numbers because with outbound ANI, it is determining in real time what are the efficient and effective numbers for this customer at this time. It's pretty amazing, right? Like, so there's a lot of weird technology out there that sometimes you wonder, like, what? But with this is like, talk about a no-brainer. When you're talking about creating better efficiency, better contact rates, going to market in this world, I mean, I think you described it perfectly, what's going on in the outbound call center world. There are a million roadblocks set up for you. And there are very few solutions out there that can not necessarily put them, get rid of those roadblocks, but maybe zip around those roadblocks wherever possible.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the challenges of contact rate are certainly a multifaceted thing. I mean, you think about how many hops and how many potential points of failure there are between your call leaving the call center and arriving at your prospect or your customer's device. There's a lot that can get in the way. Um, and you're right, you know, the operational efficiency that comes from not having to have Suzy Q managing that dialer and swapping numbers every day or every week. I mean, that's another kind of intangible ROI. Like, now we can have Suzy doing more strategic things, and we've eliminated some of the operational risk that comes along with the old swapping mechanism. You know, we are a no swap model. We do not want our customers to change their numbers ever again. Like, we want them to maintain them. We make sure that they continue to perform, they have great hygiene, they're able to contact, and they actually become tangible assets to that business. They have real value, and they are maintained in that way. And customers no longer run that risky business of accidentally swapping out a number too soon, or forgetting to put the new numbers into an inbound campaign where they can't receive callbacks. You know, we will only leverage inventory that is available in an active inbound campaign, so our customers never have to worry about that risk of displaying a number they don't own or accidentally spoofing, or, you know, any of those other challenges that come along with that swapping protocol.
Wow. I mean, it's pretty slick. So do you guys ever come across or have any clients that are using outbound ANI right now that are doing other remediation type efforts? Are they remediating phone numbers as well as using outbound ANI? Or what have they found for the use case? Like, is outbound ANI enough for what they're trying to accomplish? Or do they still need some other threads of support for those numbers?
That's a good question. So, you know, as I know you're aware, Alec, probably most of the audience is as well, you know, there are carrier registries that have been created that allow companies to submit their phone number inventory, you know, first to validate the characterization and the ownership of those numbers, that they're a legitimate business. You know, they're not a scammer. You know, it's all in the spirit of consumer protection. And those same engines are available for remediation. If there is a known problem with spam tagging, those same registries can be deployed to attempt to get those tags removed. And we absolutely advocate for our customers to do that. It is certainly a facet of the diamond that has to be polished in your overall outbound strategy and maintaining contact. You know, there are plenty of partners out there, companies that handle the remediation. We also provide a version of it where we will register our customers' numbers every week with all of the carrier entities. So, you know, whether a customer does it with us, whether they choose to do it themselves, or whether they choose to work with a number reputation company, no matter which way they go, we do advocate for checking that box and using the registries.
Right on. Now, I mean, you've been working with these customers for a while now. What kind of results have customers shared with you after, getting started? What have they seen?
That is my absolute favorite part of being a part of this team is the real customer results that I see every single day. I mean, it is transformational, it is real, it is, changing people's business and lives. And it's why I love to get out of bed in the morning. I, you know, we have customers that have seen their contact rates increase 200, 300, 400%. One of the recent case studies that I completed, I went a little bit more in depth into some of the other statistics that you can't necessarily see in a contact rate measure. So this particular customer is in the mortgage industry, and they're partnered with one of the biggest mortgage and financial companies in the US. And since going live with us, they hit an incredible contact rate increase, 200%. But outside of that, the other efficiencies that they were tracking on their side were things like total dial volume. Like if you think about a company that's buying leads, and they have a tangible cost, and that the rest is up to them. They have to make the most out of those leads. They have to contact, they have to convert. And when contact rate is struggling, it's a direct correlation to the lead spend that you have to make to keep your agents busy and keep your production high enough. So as a result of this 200% increase in contact rate, this customer was able to make 64% fewer dials every month. They went from making about 157,000 dials a month to only 56,000.
Wow.
And in the first full month of using Outbound A&I, they wrote 35 more loan applications than the month prior,
So
with less than half the dials.
so what you're saying is they spent less on their telco costs, they spent less on their personnel costs potentially, but they increased their revenue.
Exactly right.
Yeah, that's a pretty important stat that I don't think a lot of people would think to go look at, right? Because you're now potentially using fewer leads too, right? So there's also a decreased lead cost, but your conversion percentage of those leads is going through the roof,
That's
right?
right. And you
And
can take that and move from perhaps a broader brush stroke where you were just trying to get your hands on enough data to keep your staff busy, and instead invest in higher quality data, find those mechanisms to drive traffic and get direct opt-ins. You can invest a little bit more in that quality type of high intent data because that your likelihood to make contact with that record is going to make it all worth it.
yeah,
So that's the kind of transformation that we want to drive.
yeah, that's some pretty incredible efficiencies being added for that particular business. I mean, if the average contact center were to do that, I mean, the sky's the limit, right? I mean, it really is. And like when it comes to, how the platform works, I mean, you kind of already covered some of that. But is there something that's unique about what you guys are doing and how it does it, right? Because I mean, I'm not a tech guy. I sit around and talk to people all day. So,
Me too.
yeah. So, but is there something unique about what it does and how it selects the right DID or the right toll-free number to use at any given time? And does it matter DID or toll-free? I mean, you mentioned earlier that, it will learn based on what a customer is or is not answering based on dispositioning and other call results. It'll learn what the best number is, but what are you seeing are good mixes of things like that, and how does it do it? How does it really determine it?
Sure. Yeah. So I'll lead up to that by I'll take a little bit of a step back and just say, I've expressed in our conversation so far that contact rate is a complicated, multifaceted issue.
Yeah.
And there are some foundational things much more critical than outbound ANI and what it's doing inside the dialing system. You know, number one, the most important determinant of a customer's potential contact rate is the quality of their data, the intent of their data. That kind of sets the ceiling for the max contact rate that any company could ever expect right there, just full stop. Now, after that comes their technology stack and their dialing system or contact center platform and how it's configured, ensuring it's configured to meet their needs, meet their actual business goals, and treat each of their lead types and age appropriately. There's a lot that goes into that. So before we even take that step of rushing into a customer's dialing system and just deploying outbound ANI, the outbound IQ team comes in and we do a detailed discovery and review of the customer's environment. So we are going to help them ensure that that dialing platform is optimally configured to meet their needs. We're going to consult with them. We're going to help them retool or optimize if need be. We're also going to provide them with an optimal phone number inventory to use as their ANIs. So that's your DIDs, your toll-frees. If you've got some branded numbers in the mix, our team is going to make sure that you have enough ANIs in the right areas to execute on the number of calls that you need to make each day while keeping you within the boundaries that enable us to avoid negative outcomes on the wire. Okay, so once all that's in place, then we switch on the outbound ANI engine. And through the inner workings, you know, I mentioned that we instruct the dialer on every single dial of the optimal number to use, and where those insights are coming from that are feeding into that machine learning system are the call outcomes. So in the Call Shaper library, you know, you're going to have system-based dispositions for customers that are using automation. You know, there's a big difference between something like an answering machine, which is, you know, pretty common, or, you know, versus an operator intercept or some other disposition code that's returned that's a sign of larger trouble. So our system automatically understands that entire dictionary. We also see when somebody has made contact. You know, that happens all the time for customers, right? They call somebody, but that person's busy, or they need to get some paperwork, so they need to be called back. In that case, the system will return a contactable disposition. So our system recognizes that in real time. So if I've executed the call to Alec Thompson this morning, and he likes what we're talking about, he asked for information, but he has to go home and talk to his wife before he can set the appointment with us. The next time Alec comes up for dial, outbound ANI ensures that the same phone number is shown for Alec because he's engaged. We have a live contact. We do not want to change in that situation. If we were rotating or moving him to a different setting, that would be bad. Like, he's expecting to hear from us from the same number. But if we were not able to make contact, then outbound ANI knows that it's time to change. We need to try a different strategy. Now, all of it's controlled in the customer environment by how we structure the campaign mapping. So if customers want to treat brand new records a certain way and then aged records another, you know, that's all a part of our setup so that we make sure we are pulling from optimal inventories when we assign that dial. So the outcome data of what's really happening is so much more critical for any campaign where the contact rate is a KPI and a core success metric. The real outcomes and what's happening right now in your call center are the most important actionable insights that you can actually do. And we take those insights and we actually do something about it in a way that no human being, I don't care if you have 10 dialer administrators on your staff, no
Right.
human being could actually affect those changes in the dialer the way that we do with no administration.
Well, and the cost to try to do it yourself would be astronomical, and quite simply, it would be insane. I mean, even going back to 1996, I don't think you'd want to try to run a dialer platform like that. So this has been fantastic, Sandy. I mean, I've learned a lot. Are there any other things you'd like to chat about or get out there about what Outbound ANI does and how it'll help customers? Because I think what we talked about is pretty fantastic, but there's probably more.
Well, it's worth mentioning. I keep saying that everything is automated. It's our system communicating with CallShaper directly. It's really API under the covers system. But all of our customers gain access to our dashboard and reporting portal. We've got a very robust set of reports that enable our customers to monitor intraday and historical. They can view all aspects of contact rate, chopped and diced by time of day, by campaign, by location, all the way down to a phone number level. We have agent performance dashboards that give you an instant stack ranking of every agent on the staff, close percentage on connected calls, close per hour, which, at a glance, you can see, your top performer and the people that need a little help. We also show how every phone number is being utilized and how it's performing every single day. So while the magic is happening, our customers have full visibility into what's actually going on, what's being instructed, and what is my ROI on this platform? Where did I start and where am I now? And we provide unlimited access to that for our customers as well.
So that's really cool, because that's an added layer of reporting too that digs a little deeper and can give you a little bit more insight into the efficiencies of your agents, right? Because the system, when it's working properly, of course you can check the basic, information. But I think it's pretty critical for using a platform like Outbound ANI to be able to dig a little deeper and be able to even get down granularly to the agent level is pretty powerful. Pretty powerful for sure.
Agreed. Agreed.
Just because it can bolt right onto the platform, whether CallShaper or any other that you're integrated with, it really does. It means a lot to be able to pull that data into a different platform that shows some different types of reporting that maybe that call center software doesn't necessarily show it in that way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, CallShaper has great reporting, call log data, all that stuff that customers will continue to leverage there. But, what we've got is really something specifically tailored towards a sales leader or a business leader or a performance manager who wants to see what's going on for all around contact and success rate aspects. So, yeah,
right on.
Agreed.
Well, Sandy, thank you so much for spending some time with me and sharing some of the cool things that Outbound ANI can provide to customers. So how do people get in touch with you guys? I mean, obviously, if they're a CallShaper client, they can reach out to us. But, hopefully lots of other people are taking a look at this and getting some information. So how do they reach out and get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, super easy. I mean, our team is super responsive to email. So if you just want to give us a shout at sales@outboundiq.com, we'll jump all over it. Reach out to you same day.
Perfect. Sounds great. And, as always, it's such a pleasure to see you and to be working with you guys. Really excited that we were able to get this together.